Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Farmersville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Farmersville, Texas. On every episode, Dennisha Denney will share Farmersville's story through the stories of the people who call Farmersville home. This is Heart of Farmersville.
Thank you so much for watching Heart of Farmersville. Our show would not be possible without our sponsors. Thank you so much to REMAX 3D Real Estate, who serves our community locally and serves Farmersville and all of the surrounding areas. And also, thank you to CareVide. CareVide provides all of the medical needs for everyone here in the Farmersville area, and they've been here for over 25 years. Our guest today is Miss Gwen Snyder. I asked her to come on the show because she has such a heart and spirit for this community, and I loved hearing her story about Savannah Meadows and fine arts on Maine. Here's my conversation with Gwen. Hey y'all, I'm Dennisha Denney, your host of Heart of Farmersville, and today we're sitting down at 12 Stories in downtown Farmersville, and I am so honored to have Miss Gwen Snyder with us today. How are you today, Gwen?
I am doing great, thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
For sure. My pleasure.
I've really enjoyed getting to know you. I know I've only known you for a short period of time, but we've met a couple times and had coffee, and I really enjoy getting to know you. But I first heard your name from the Savannah Meadows, which really isn't your name, but your daughter's name.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So can we start there? I don't know if everyone knows about that, and so I want to share your story about how that came about.
Oh my goodness, that is a very unique story. My husband and I built a farm. Actually, we built a home on 18 acres. And we met there on the land. I was doing real estate.
You have to tell this story because of how I knew this one story would tie everything together.
Yes. So I was doing real estate in downtown Farmersville. And I got a phone call one day, and one of the agents was showing some land to this gentleman, and he was out there with his assistant, and she locked her keys in the car. So the realtor called me and said, "Gwen, will you bring me a Slim Jim?" So at the time, my stepdad owned a tire shop here in town, and so I went and got the Slim Jim, and I drove out there, and I remember getting out of the car, and I'm walking down just this long dirt road in my cute little high heel shoes and with this Slim Jim in my hand. And the land was just covered in trees. I remember this gentleman coming out of the trees, and he says to me, "I saw a cat track this big."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Pregnant." And I'm thinking, how does he know that from a cat track?
Right.
And must be at least 200 pounds. And I'm thinking, this guy's off his rocker. And I said, that's pretty funny. Here's your Slim Jim. So I handed it to him. And it wasn't my client, so I wasn't going to engage him very much. So I handed him the Slim Jim, and I drove away. I got back to my office later on. The phone rang. They said, "Gwen, you have a phone call." And this gentleman on the other end says, "Hi, my name is Mike Snyder. I just met you out on the land, and I was wondering if you would like to go on an African safari or lunch."
Oh, wow.
So I thought, I'm not sure about this. He's not my client.
Right.
So I said, "Let me call you back."
What do you say to that? Those are very extremely different opportunities.
Yes. So I went to lunch, and I called him back when I was in the car, and I said, "Sure, I'll have lunch with you." And so
what made you think it was okay to have lunch with him, though? What an interesting conversation to have out on the land, and you just hand him a Slim Jim, and now you're having lunch with him.
I wasn't really certain about this. My better judgment was like, no. But he seemed like a nice guy. He was funny.
Okay, so that's what captured you.
So when I went back to the office and told the agent, I said, well, I'm gonna have lunch with your client. I hope that's okay. And she's like, anything for the deal.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, that's how actually Savannah's Meadow started.
Yes.
And that relationship started on that land.
So he did buy the land.
He did buy the land, and after he bought the land, he said to me, what kind of house do you want to build there?
Oh.
And I was thinking, wait, what? We
just started dating.
And so I actually started looking at house plans with him to help him,
Right.
find a nice house plan.
Right. So he was asking for your opinion, and you were going to show him what you liked too.
I did.
So.
I did. And little did I know that it ended up being our family home.
That is such a cool story.
Yes.
How did it come about that you had the lavender farm and everything there, and the tree house? And
So when he built, we built the house because actually his main goal was to buy this land to build a tree house to live in.
oh, he wanted to live in it every day.
Yes.
Oh,
That
well,
was
that's
his
cool.
goal. And then I said, I'm afraid of heights. And so that's how building the house came.
Okay.
So we built our home, and we lived there, I think maybe about a year or so. And he said, I really want to get my tree house started. So I said, okay. And he had the tree picked out. As a matter of fact, it was just feet away from where we met.
Oh,
Yes.
that's so sweet. I've been to the tree house, so I know exactly where that is.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
so sweet.
So he started building the tree house, and I'm not an expert. I don't know anything about building so much, but I'm looking at this tree house thinking, this doesn't look so good. Like, this doesn't look very stable to me. And then there was a time in his life, just like a bumpy patch in his life. And I was really concerned about him. And that evening I stayed up all night just researching Google. And the next morning he woke up and I said, I have a surprise for you. I booked you a flight to Washington State, and I booked you with the Treehouse Conference.
Oh, how awesome.
And so I sent him on a week.
Who knew that was even a thing?
I know, I just started Googling. The gentleman that was putting on that conference was Pete Nelson, the Treehouse Master.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
And it just happened to be like right then as you were looking it up
Yes.
where he could go.
Now, he was not the Treehouse Master at the time. The
Okay.
show was not, didn't even start at that time. But all the major Treehouse people were at this conference, and he got to meet all of them.
Oh, wow.
And while he was there, he told Pete, I started building this treehouse, and my wife sent me here. And so Mike bought one of his books, and Pete Nelson wrote in Mike's book, and he said, now go home and do it correctly, Pete Nelson.
Oh, I love that.
So when he came home, he tore everything down.
Oh, and he started over.
He did.
Oh, okay.
I'm so happy I sent him.
Yeah. It did turn out really cool.
Thank you.
It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And I'm like, this is a really neat place to stay.
Yes.
I'm sure your guest had all kinds of stories from staying.
I have to tell you, when we first started building the tree house, and we were almost finished. I was laying the floor down one day, and I remember, because I have a picture of it, I remember turning around and looking at Mike, and I said, what are we going to do with this? Was my question.
Right.
And he said, well, I don't know, maybe we'll rent it. And I said, okay. And that's how the bed and breakfast started. So
I love how y'all work together. You
Yes.
just have an idea and you just throw it off of each other and then you go make it happen.
Well, and then a few weeks later, I was laying in bed, and I thought, I'm just going to throw it out on Facebook. $100 a night, sight unseen. Just book it. I'm not going to show you any pictures. Just book it. And when I woke up the next morning, I looked at Mike and I said, oh my gosh, we have started something here.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing, the response. People were booking
Yes.
and never even saw a picture.
Wow.
Yes.
And how many years ago was that?
Oh my.
I mean, it's been several years.
Yes, I want to say, let's see, Savannah was born in '06, maybe '08,
Okay.
2008.
Wow, y'all were way before your time.
Yes.
And tree houses are such a big thing now.
Now they are,
And
yes.
yes.
And there was no treehouse shows. None of
Right.
that.
Wow. That's so cool that you guys did that. What made you bring the lavender farm into it?
Savannah was just a baby. There was a night where I couldn't sleep. And I remember very distinctly waking up at 3:30 in the morning. And I woke up and I was like, boy, I can't sleep. I don't know why I can't sleep. And I was just, Mike, are you asleep? And well, not now.
Not now.
And I said, come on, wake up. Let's go in the kitchen and talk. It was such a powerful moment for me. It felt like it just needed to happen.
Yes.
I didn't understand why. I don't understand the reference to the time, but I just felt like it needed to happen.
I love those moments.
It was powerful. And we went to the kitchen table, and we had pencil and paper, and Mike just started saying, tell me what you want in life, Gwen. Tell me what your dreams are. And I was like, okay, the first thing I want is a BMW. And he's like, no, I need more from you. Like, what are your passions and desires in life? And I said, I want a lavender farm. And he looked at me and he said, I don't understand the reference. Like, you've never talked about lavender. I don't really understand where this is coming from. And I said, just write it down. And so then from there started this whole map system. He started just drawing, and he's an engineer, and he can, kind of draw things to scale, and he started drawing the map, and he started drawing where our house is and our pond and where this lavender field is going to be, and then this lavender field. And I was like, then I want a wedding venue here, and the tree house here. And so all these things were on paper. And so after that evening, it just became this motivation in our lives. Like, we never looked at that piece of paper again.
Really? So that's not something you sat at and looked at every day?
No, it went in the closet. It went on my desk, and then it ended up in the closet. And it wasn't something we revisited often. It was just something that was in our minds and hearts. And I started doing research on lavender and found out really quickly that lavender doesn't grow well in Texas.
Really?
And just started going to conferences and all these things. And I remember one time when my lavender was growing successfully, the Dallas Morning News came out and did an interview. And I remember saying to them, the question was, why lavender? And it was never a thought in my mind after I presented it to my husband. But at that moment, it caught me off guard. And I said, all I can think of right here and now is that God put this on my heart. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I'm not a farmer, and this is very difficult to grow here.
Right.
But it was very successful. And I had thousands and thousands of people that came out to my farm.
Yes. It was such a really cool place, but it was so serene. I don't know, seeing the lavender and the way it blew in the wind and the silo that was there. And
yes.
I don't know, it was a very special place.
It
really
was. It was built with love.
Yes.
A lot of love.
A lot of love.
And it wasn't a business that we said, oh my goodness, we're going to have this business to make lots of money. It was never about that.
Right.
It was more about the joy of giving to other people and the peacefulness. We had outdoor concerts. We gave treehouse tours. My little girl, Savannah, she was little bitty, and she would give tours of the herb garden. Aww. And she could name every herb. And it was peaceful to families that live in cities, and the kids would come out fishing and never caught a fish before or had seen a frog before.
Oh, wow.
And it was moments that you are building stories for
and
them.
memories.
And lasting memories. And they
Yes.
will not forget the time when some teenagers came out and they're like, this is boring. My parents won't let me have my phone, and this is so boring. My husband got the ropes and the harnesses and said, jump out of this tree.
Oh, wow.
And they jumped and they jumped and they loved it.
Oh, how fun.
So memories like that are so meaningful.
Oh, they are. So what made you guys decide to sell it?
Well, I was sitting in my lavender field one evening. The sun was going down, and I saw Savannah running across the field. And you just, like, I envision it in my mind like it was yesterday. And she was just about to turn 10. And she was just running through the field, just letting the winds, go against her face. And it was such a beautiful moment. And I thought to myself, I have 2 tree houses now. I make all my lavender products. And I'm taking care of 18 acres. And I thought, wow, she's about to turn 10. And I was also homeschooling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're a superwoman.
And I just thought, I need time to slow down. I need to spend time with her. She is my heart and my devotion. And before you know it, this is going to pass me by.
Right.
And so my husband got home from work that night, and he was standing in the kitchen, and I was sitting at the table. And I remember saying to him, and it was the same place where we had talked about the farm. And I said to him, I need to talk to you. And I just said, I'm done. And he said, with me? And I said, oh, gosh, no. No,
You should be careful. You should set that up a little better, Gwen, before you say I'm done.
Yes. And I said, with the farm.
Wow.
I'm ready to sell. So it did take him some time for that to sink in.
Because that had to come as a shock to him, right? I mean, he didn't see that coming.
Right.
Or
I
he
mean, as quickly as we dreamt it, I was ready to let it go.
Ready to let go. And that's when you know it's time to let go. When it's easy to let go and you want to let go.
We did so much there. And we built one of our tree houses on the Treehouse Guys show. And after we sold the property, we had the Treehouse Master come out and film.
Oh, how fun.
They were doing an episode of the Ultimate Tree Houses of the World.
Oh, wow. And you're on one of those episodes?
Yes.
How fun is that?
And I have to say, when Pete Nelson came in, he sat down in the treehouse with Mike, and he pulled the book out of the bookshelf, and he wrote in the book again and said, congratulations for doing it properly.
Oh, how special.
So it just came full circle.
Yes. That had to help with some closure too,
It did.
with everything.
It really did. And we sold the farm to a lovely couple. They are still operating it under Savannah's Meadow.
So you can go visit anytime you want to.
Yes.
So what did God lead you to do after that then?
It was a really interesting, it was really interesting because at that point in my life, I felt like I had lost my identity.
Isn't that ironic? I mean, you had Savannah's Meadows, but yet you felt like you lost your identity.
Everything that I was about, everything that I did was now gone.
Because you sold it.
Because I sold it. I mean, I spent my life researching lavender and making products and all of these things, and now it ended just suddenly, quickly.
Right.
And I was still homeschooling, spending time with my daughter, but what was Gwen doing for herself?
Right.
And one day my daughter came to me and said, I want to go to a theater school. And I said, theater school? Like, this is the first I've heard of this, And so I said, well, why don't we just go to a show first? Let's start from there.
Let's start there.
And so we went to a live show, and Savannah said, I want to do that.
So she wanted to be like up on the stage and performing.
She just decided that's what she wanted to do.
Sounds like someone else I know.
So at first, Mike and I were just like, oh, let's just see. And so we went to a couple of other shows, and then she kept going on and on about it. So I said, all right, we'll do introduction to theater class. Savannah did that, and she really loved it. And her teacher said, Gwen, really, this is something that she could do.
Oh, wow. Like, who knew that that talent was inside of her?
Well, we had a lot of shows and things on the farm, and this is how she grew up.
Well, that's true.
And so I think that's maybe where it came from. And so she started doing shows.
Oh, wow.
And lots of them. So that's where I started to get involved in something because of her.
Okay.
I had a passion for organizing. I had a passion for costumes and creating set pieces and things like that. And this passion grew and grew and grew. And then we started to get involved in Greenville in the GMA.
Oh.
Yes. So that we did a lot of sets for the GMA.
So did you start leading the performances? Is that what was your role?
My role was set build, design, costumes, things like that.
How fun. Was that part of your past at all?
Not at all.
I mean, you are a creative spirit.
I am.
And so when you take on something, you research it incredibly. So I can see why you're great at that. But you don't. So nothing from your past. It's not like you were in theater when you were growing up. Or
not at all. I did dance some. I did ballet. But no, I didn't even know I was creative when I was younger. Really? It really didn't come out until maybe almost my 30s.
Wow.
And when I met Mike, he just fed that passion and that energy I had. And he says we together are artsy fartsy. I'm the artsy. But he builds my vision, and I make it look good.
That's what I love. That's the thing I've noticed. Like, you share your dreams and your aspirations, and he goes and makes it all come to fruition.
He does.
It's so incredible. You're so blessed to have one another, to have that kind of relationship.
And I truly am, and it's also moved on into my life with my friendships are amazing to me. And I am so blessed to have the people in my life that I do have now because we complement each other so much. So, yes.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Fine Arts on Maine real quick.
Okay.
So I know that's kind of falls into the theater and all of that. So
Yes.
tell us, how did that get started?
Fine Arts on Maine was started because I saw a need in the community. We don't have anything like this here. And
Did you have to take to Savannah, like to Dallas, to do all of her theatrical performances and
we
those
go to
sorts of things?
Fairview.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
a pretty good drive.
That is, especially for all the practices and what it takes
Oh my
to
gosh.
put into a performance.
And when you have Tech Week,
Oh, yes.
it's crazy. And we would go to Greenville sometimes too. But I just really thought that Farmersville needed more arts.
Yes.
So Fine Arts on Maine just started as this thought in my head. I contacted some homeschool parents that I knew that were doing some arts. And so I just said, hey, what about this? We got together the next week. We started talking, and here we are. Fine Arts on Maine has grown very, very quickly.
When was it born? When did you create it?
I would
and launch it?
say, it was before COVID.
Okay.
And we just started talking about it. It was during COVID that we actually had the time to sit down and get our nonprofit status.
Oh.
Yes.
So that was a blessing for that time
Actually,
frame?
it was great because we got the donation to get our nonprofit status. And then during that time, I was like, what are we going to do during COVID? So I decided to bring back old radio shows.
How fun. So how did people tune into that?
We had it online on our website.
Okay.
And you just tune in and listen. And it was great. We
So-
had lots of local talent.
Wow. Did you have to have auditions for that?
I did.
Okay, so then you had to listen to their voice to see, do they have a radio voice? How will it
Yes.
sound? Can they perform?
Yes.
And so you had great feedback from that
I
then.
did. It was really amazing. And because people were sitting at home anyway,
Right.
they would just tune in and they could sit there just like old times.
How fun. Did you write the scripts or did you use existing scripts? Like, what did you do
I
about
just
that?
used scripts that were existing, and you have to pay a royalty fee for all those things.
Right.
And yes, that's what we ended up doing.
How fun.
Yes, and then we were very fortunate enough to, after COVID, we got to, or actually COVID was still happening, but we got to move into a space temporarily right on Main, or McKinney Street. And we were there for a while, and we did several shows and concerts and things. So that was such a blessing.
Oh, I'm sure. And I saw you did one, the Winnie the Pooh, but that was outdoors, right?
Yes, so that
Okay.
was always planned to be outdoors.
Okay.
And it was a big challenge. Our tech guy, JP, was not happy with me doing it because it's just a logistics nightmare.
Right.
But we
Well,
did
that's
it.
what
and it was
happens.
awesome.
We have these creative ideas and we're like, we want to do this. And then the professionals have to try to figure out how to make those ideas come to
And
life.
you know, it was flawless. And I'm like, okay, let's do it again. And he says, just wait a minute, Gwen.
Well, we kind of are doing it again.
We are. I mean, right now I have Fine Arts on Main is doing outdoor movies. They're
Yes.
free to the community. And a little known fact that not many people know is that showing these movies, you have to get a license agreement to show any movie to the public, whether it be outside or inside. And those cost anywhere from $300 to maybe $600 to get a
Wow.
license agreement for a movie. So we are very blessed to have some amazing sponsors for
Yes.
those shows.
To be able to put those on.
Yes, and it's all free to the community, and we have games. They get to come out and play and have fun, and it's so great to see people sitting on their blankets watching a movie. We really
Yes.
love it.
And really spending time together.
You know, you just don't see children playing anymore.
Right.
And
Not
that's
like we
what I
used to.
love. And the parents get out there and play softball with their kids, and it's beautiful.
And it's such a great opportunity to set your phone down.
I don't
And
ever
disconnect.
see those
Isn't that funny?
unless they're
Like-
taking pictures.
Right. Right.
You just don't see them out there.
Yes. But it forces people in a good way
Yes.
to like step out of the digital world, the technology world, and
Yes.
go and actually be with your family and
Yes.
spend time and make those memories. That's what you're going to talk about in 10 years. You know, when you're sitting around the table at Thanksgiving or Christmas, and those memories, those are the memories that people are going to come back to. Do you think the Fine Arts on Main helped you re-identify yourself?
100%.
I can see that.
And I get teary-eyed every time I talk about it because it is about, it's all about community, family, and growth. And I love to see children just trying hard and memorizing their lines. And same with adults. We're not just a children's theater. We are all people, I say from age 5 to 85. We want to embrace everyone's
Yes.
talents, everyone's passions. That's what we're about.
And people can just come to you and volunteer, right?
Oh, yes.
And then,
We love our volunteers. Everything is a volunteer base. I'm volunteer. Everybody.
Right.
Everyone is volunteer.
And I love that you went and got your nonprofit
Yes.
status too.
Yes.
That's really important.
It is very
to be
important.
sustainable and keep growing.
Yes, we are debt free. I like to say, but right now we are looking for a building, and so we are starting a building campaign to help do that.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you brought that here and you're carrying that on, and it really does make a difference, even in adults, but especially in children. And it builds their confidence to be able to be on a stage and memorize those lines and perform that, and they get that in a real organic way.
Yes.
And so I love all the things that you're doing with the Fine Arts on Main, and Farmersville is so fortunate to have that and to have you.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank you.
we're on Heart of Farmersville.
Yes.
So let's take a minute and talk about the things that you love about Farmersville. Like I know you love this little town,
Yes.
and you actually don't just partake in all of the activities with Fine Arts on Main. You give back, and so you get to be a part of the community that way. But what are some of the things that you love about Farmersville?
I love the community, the spirit of people, that small town feel, which is getting a little bit bigger, but I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And just the people here are genuine
Yes.
and kind and loving. And I feel so blessed to have so many wonderful people that help with my vision, and I get to help with theirs as well.
Yes.
It really means a lot to me to be, it's not a huge town, and you can volunteer with other people's businesses and be involved. My best friend, Rise Up Balloons, right across the street, Tracy. I am helping her a lot, just hanging out and doing things in her business, and I love that. You can walk into any store and just go, can I help you today? Is there anything I can do? But it's also, I feel safe here, and I feel safe for my daughter being here, and that's important to me.
That is important. You see kids just walking all around the downtown area and just free, and it's like everyone knows everyone's name. And when you walk on the sidewalk, even if you don't know the person, they still say hello.
They do.
And you still have that hometown feel, even though it is growing.
And you even met my daughter. You didn't even know that was my daughter.
Right.
Just walking down the street.
Just walking down the street. I'm like, I think I've met you before.
Right.
And it was just walking down the street.
Sure.
So I love that. Well, Gwen, I've loved sitting down talking to you, and I mean, I've enjoyed getting to know you over the last several months anyway, but I like to close out our show with a final question.
Okay.
And it's a random question. So if you will pick a number between 1 and 20, I'm going to ask you your question.
I'm going to go with number 1.
Oh, I don't think anyone's ever picked 1.
Lucky
I
me.
love it. I'm glad you did. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received, and how have you applied it?
That's a good one.
That
There's so
actually
much.
used to be my standard question that I asked at the end of every episode, but then people started watching the show and they were prepared for it. So I decided, no, we're going to mix this up.
Wow. That is really good. The only thing that I can think of, and it's a way that I raise Savannah, is to be a mirror. You are a reflection, and others are watching all the time, constantly watching. And I really didn't realize that until someone brought that to my attention one day, and that others are constantly watching you. Your daughter is constantly watching you. And be who you want others, you're a reflection always. Right. And shine as best as you can, and be as good as you can to others. I'm not perfect in any way. And
none of us are.
No, but I strive.
Yes.
And people always tell me it doesn't hurt to tell the truth. It doesn't hurt to be honest. And it's good advice. And I try to give the same to my daughter. And, you can be honest gently.
Yes, that's so true.
But it's just a way that I choose to live my life. It may be a convoluted answer there, but
no, actually, I'm like, there's so much more we could talk about.
There's
in
a
that
lot.
Topic.
There is a lot, and yeah.
That's but that's the core of like who you are, and that's what sounds like you go back to, is being a mirror, being the person that you want to reflect back to others.
Yes.
And you do that well. And I love that you're not afraid to go after your goals and dreams. And you're not afraid to dream, but you don't let that hold you back. You actually take action. And a lot of people dream and have visions, but they never take that next step to take the action to make it happen. And you do that. And so you are such an inspiration to me and to so many others for what you blaze the trail on. So
actually, that's my favorite word.
Blaze the trail?
Inspiration.
Oh, inspiration.
It's my favorite word. Yes, I love that word.
It
so
is
thank
a
you for
great word.
saying that to me.
Oh,
it means a lot.
You're so welcome. Well, Gwen, thank you for sitting down with me today. It has been such a pleasure to hear your story. And I know there's even more stories. We really kind of only talked about 2 things, the Savannah Meadows and how that came about, and the Fine Arts on Maine. And I know there's so much more behind that. But thank you for letting us see the insight to those stories. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Thank you for watching Heart of Farmersville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Farmersville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.